Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. Happy Easter. The day is April 17th, 2022. I got a special guest today.
Hello, yes.
That's right, Jim is back.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Have you been?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Living life. Yeah,
You live in La
absolutely.
Vida Loca?
Trying to.
Yeah, and
Trying to.
Joe Byron's America. Do what you can.
Yeah, as much as
dude.
we can.
Yeah, dude. We were talking pre-pod. How inflation sucks. I clocked it at 8. He was like, it's 8.5. I was like, God damn. But, it is what it is, right?
That's right, yeah. It only goes up from here, so.
It goes up from here, baby. That's right. There is no ceiling, dude. Oh, man. But let's see. There's no food to really report. I did go to B-Dubs the other day. I was treating myself. I had a margarita at El Trumpo. They're not like renowned for margaritas, but they do be doing like weird shit. They put like little trolley worms in there and shit.
Okay.
I was like,
The
all
artisan.
right, yeah, thank you.
It's
Yummy.
artisanal margs, dude.
Yeah. So I had those real quick. Also, my strat when I'm like actually trying to drink is almost like a speed run when I go to these restaurants. I sit down, they give me a bowl of chips, and they immediately mount their charm offensive. What are you getting? Oh, I just want my margarita and a water. And then they're like, okay, great. And then we'll start you on some more shit later. Little they know that's all I want. This is it. That's all.
Oh, boy.
And so, then they come back and the menu's still there. It's closed. And they're like, so are we ready to order? I'm like, oh, this is it. And they're like, that's it? That's all you're doing?
Okay.
And I try to, and I understand why they're doing it. Naturally, you want to get a decent order so you get a decent tip. I'm going to tip you. Don't worry. I'm going to give you, more than max for what we're doing here. So I got it in, got out real fucking fast. And I was like, oh, but I actually am hungry, though. So I was like, let me get some B-Dubs. So I got a bunch of wings. So people have been talking about wings lately. There's one, I got some hot wings. They was pretty good. So I was like, I've been eating hot wings, every weekend.
Flats or drums?
Okay, I'm a drums guy. I'm a drums guy because I'm lazy. You know what I mean?
They're a little easier. I agree with that.
At the end of the day, I feel like you have two approaches when it comes to a good flat. You have to either break it down and then get it in, or you pretty much have to do cunnilingus. You gotta really fucking work
You're
it.
sucking it like you know what you're
Yeah,
doing.
and don't get me wrong. Hey, go all out. I'm a sweaty eater, so I understand. Sometimes you need to get in there and get frisky to eat.
Absolutely.
But a drum, you just and you're good. Next one. There's real there's not much left on the table with drums. So I'm a drums guy.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Are you a drum guy?
Yeah, I'm a
Okay,
drum guy.
cool.
I'm a drum guy.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a hybrid guy. I'll eat whatever. You throw me a thigh, I'm gonna eat that. It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, when we've talked, I don't eat meat, red meat.
Yeah, you're off it, dude.
I'm doing it for the year.
Yeah.
That was my New Year's resolution. Definitely fish tacos.
Fish
If we're going
tacos.
to El Trumpo, so
Yeah,
not too bad.
they do have some good fish.
But I definitely, when I'm eating meat, I'm a drum guy. Absolutely.
Smart man. Do you fuck with the cauliflower wings?
Yes,
You like them?
they're fine.
I think I'm being way too ultra American, where I'm I don't want to do it. This is a lie. I turn to Alex Jones.
It's a
I
total
don't know
lie.
why.
If you're gonna eat it expecting to get that same fucking O face from just a nice drum, you're not going to get it.
Okay.
You're going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
You're gonna be disappointed.
I just feel like I'm eating a lie, and I don't want to be diet conscious when I'm eating wings. You know what I
That's
mean?
fine.
I want to
feel
be
that.
debaucherous. Otherwise, I'll just eat a piece of broccoli. No cheese.
Okay.
That's me. That's my style. All right, but we can get into some news. We can talk about it. So want to talk about Ukraine. Luckily, Jim over here, he's aware. He knows. He's hip to the streets of Donbass. He's there. He's
Mariupol.
You know about it, so you know. Actually, update from the Mariupol thing. They are not doing good. A lot of the combat action is very much focused on the east. Mariupol is a land bridge kind of situation, so taking that over really does kind of give them what they want in terms of owning the east and the southern block area, like Crimea. So it's not looking good. They're definitely looking like they're on just a pulverized strategy. Which actually kind of leads us into our first news thing. Got this from NBC News. Russia appoints general with cruel history to oversee Ukraine offensive. General Alexander Dvornikov, who most recently oversaw Russian troops in Syria, has a history of targeting civilians. So essentially, this is just kind of like an update in terms of like what their strategy is. A lot of generals, I guess, it's a very different military setup than, like, let's say, American Western strategy. A lot of it in America, like, a lot of the sergeants do a lot of the control and command stuff. Like, it's spread out. It's not just the generals who tell you what to do and then you go in and do it. And I think
the chain of command.
Yeah, the chain of command is a lot looser, and you can actually act easily, and the discipline is like really strewn throughout. Whereas I guess the setup here, at least I learned this from like the Daily in like a quick episode. They were like, okay, it's the top. The generals tell you what to do. Top brass and the command, who gets their information with the Kremlin, all that kind of shit.
Sure.
They tell you what to do, you do it. And essentially, they were put into the situation thinking that it wasn't going to be hard, and they've had to deal the past 2-3 months right now. Like, what, they're 50? They were like past day 50 at this point. Like, they've kind of been in over their head. Like, the military have had a lot of resistance, a lot of inadequate equipment, and their supply chains have been breaking down, all that kind of shit. I think that's also led to a lot of the increased hostility of the troops. They come through, they want alcohol, they want to eat, they haven't eaten. Then they get wild and they do crazy shit. Like, some of the shit I've heard is really redonkulous. Like,
war crimes.
Shit. Just like straight
crimes.
Up period. But, and it is something too where it is like a little bit of both sides. I've heard of Ukrainian executing soldiers and stuff like that. But I think you get that in the situation.
I've seen videos,
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Like, it's one of those things where you are going to get that tit for tat. And, I think the changing of the guard here from Russia is saying like, hey, we are really taking this seriously. We are not letting our foot off the pedal, even though a lot of the peace talks were a thing. Post Bucha like massacre, that's kind of been off the table. Corridors off the table, because we're definitely back to fighting. We're about to making a statement, it seems, especially with this guy. So I mean, it's intense. It's definitely, I was really hoping like, okay, we're simmering things down. People are really sitting down at the table to talk, but it doesn't look like those talks have borne any fruit, and it doesn't seem like they're really continuing really either.
I think this general here is going to be the first of many, because at least from what I've read in the past, is the people that were in charge originally when this invasion first happened were definitely misrepresenting how good Russia was doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of these generals, I think, are going to be replaced with maybe, like you said, people, unfortunately, that have done some bad things in the past, but are proven. So,
I think especially, like, I've heard they had, like, a Chechen guard that has also been, like, injected in. I mean, they've hired mercenaries from Syria, which actually I learned, like, the pay bracket they had is really fucking shitty. I think they were getting, like, 3,000 you could go and be like a guard for a Russian,
like the conscripts versus the people that are.
But then they had 7,000 for people who are going to be like your frontline unit. Yeah. We're going to throw you in
like
to
you
Ukraine.
Volunteered,
and it's like these people like can't feed their families, so they're like, yeah, I guess I'll go to this war and like die for my family, and then they'll get the money.
Right.
Like, it's wild. And then meanwhile too, it's crazy that back home in Russia, they're really just saying everything's fine. It's all good. Like, Ukrainians are doing weird, crazy shit. They're lying on us every day, all the time. They're wild. Those Azovs, they not seeing, which they are. But I mean, it is one of those things where it's crazy how you see propaganda in this day and age. Like, it's the 80s, but it doesn't work anymore because everyone has phones. Everyone has internet. Like, everyone has a VPN. They can just like go and find real information if they want. Which is another thing we're going to shift to here. We got this from The Guardian. Russia's Moskva cruiser sinks following Ukrainian claim of missile strike. So, according to Russia, they're like, okay,
it was a munitions explosion.
It's a munitions explosion, an unexplained fire. They're towing it back in, and it sinks because of a storm
on your flagship. Ship.
On your known fucking cruiser. It's like, baby, a Neptune hit that bitch.
Wasn't this the ship that early on in the war when they was it Snake Island?
Yes, the Snake Island incident.
Yeah.
Yep.
Karma.
They said, yeah, fuck off, dude. And they finally fucked on that shit, dude.
Yeah, they did.
And I mean, it's crazy how they're really trying to mask like what happened to that ship. It's like, dude, it blew up. Just say it blew up. Like, in my mind, this is how I think. I'm putting myself in like the shoes of a war guy. I would let in some truth. You know, you gotta take some L's. It's a war. You know that this isn't exactly going the way you planned it. So take some L's and lie about some other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, filter it in. Like,
you
tell
said,
your guys,
it's
you know?
2022,
yeah,
guys.
dude. Like,
everybody can find whatever they want to.
But they're like, hey, if Trump can lie about his golf game and getting a hole-in-one, then we can lie about this.
Wild. That's a whole episode on itself.
It really is, dude. I really try not to put too much Trump out because I just feel like people jerk off to it at this point. Like, oh, what did he do? But it's just one of those things where that was aces, dude. That's so good. I'm not one to brag,
just
but
the walk up, no shot.
Dude.
Wow.
Oh, dude, everyone's hyping him up like, whoa, that was good, buddy. Did it, man. Oh, God. But I think they still try the same shit here, and it's like, dude, just say it, Shunk. Like, it's over. It's okay. You have nuclear weapons, and of course they like to say, hey, we shifted our shit to nuclear. You're not gonna use them, though. We know that. Just do the George Bush thing. It's threat level orange and call it a day. That's fine. That worked in America, right? Like,
what's the end game here? Say, hypothetically, maybe Russia only gets a little bit of the East Coast and the eastern part of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. I apologize, and they leave it at that. Like, they're like, oh, Putin's going to be tried for what?
Nah.
I think it's rather adorable that these people think that anything is going to happen to Putin once this is done. Whatever happens at the end.
Especially with how he sanctioned him. There's no reason to him to play ball at all.
What is a man with
dude.
the red button to thousands of nuclear weapons?
He's got his homies. China's going to talk to him no matter what. India's going to talk to him no matter what. There are countries in Africa who are going to fuck with him no matter what.
North Korea.
Yeah. He's going to have a home. Yeah. Like, you're playing. And at the end of the day, I think the only backlash that he's going to have to deal with is an insurgency.
Absolutely.
Because you obviously failed to take the whole thing in one gulp. So now you're stuck in a situation where you have a neighboring thing. It's very, in my mind, it's akin to Israel and Palestine. Yeah. Except you have a big Palestine to deal with. You know what I mean? It's a big backyard to worry about.
And we're fast tracking.
And we're just mainlining them NATO weapons and shit.
Fast tracking them into NATO.
Dude, it's a bad pipeline. And not to mention, you're cutting off potentially more and more money. Germany does not want to stop doing business with him. There are places they need to do business with Russia to keep their lights on.
Right.
But they're going to get to a point where they cannot do that if this continues. Like, every week, more and more pressure gets put on these places to act. So it's a bad look. Like, Russia's not going to go down. But it just makes the citizens have to do way more, go through way more, and it's fucking shitty. You know what I mean? It's a fucking mess.
It is.
But I wanted to do a little update. Glad to have you here for that. Get a man on the ground, if you will. I mean, not that you're in Ukraine.
No, absolutely
actually,
not on the ground.
Let me ask you a question, though. This has been like a random thing I ask people. If I gave you, like, you name the price. I'm making this Michael Bay movie. You name the price. I'm going to drop you into Ukraine. You don't get to say where. You just got to go. And you have to hang out there for like a week. Would you do it? This is my Jamie Kennedy experiment.
Yeah, like, what? Okay, so I have some questions, I guess. I mean, like, are there supplies? Like, am I armed?
I'm going to give you basic provisions. Like,
clothes,
some clothes, like some MREs, a gun. But I'm not telling you where I'm dropping you. And you got to live in Ukraine for like a week.
I'm sure, I don't know what the amount would be, but I am sure that there is some amount of money where I would attempt that. Yes, absolutely.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, I appreciate that.
Would I survive? Probably
not. But then again, maybe you're lucky. Maybe I drop you in Lviv, and you're like, all right, cool. I'm just going to hang out here, have some food.
You know me, I'm a gambling man, and
because I'm letting you set the price.
Exactly.
Now, I've asked some boomers, and they're like, oh, hell no. And I'm like, I think I'm kind of aligned with the boomers. I don't think I'd fare well in Ukraine. I don't have any tactical experience, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be hard. Like, if you put me in Kharkiv, I don't think I'm going to manage, So, I don't know. That's my little thought experiment I wanted to run by you. No. I got a man in the room, so I wanted to ask some questions. And some more, I wouldn't say local news, but national news. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sure.
Got this from CNN. Video show the fatal police shooting of Michigan man after a struggle during a traffic stop. So this is about Patrick Lyoya from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He was from the Dominican Republic of Congo. I want to say he came over like within a year ago, like less than a year. Essentially, it was a traffic stop. I believe his like plates or something didn't match, something like that. The cop pulls him out, and like, well, he doesn't really pull him out. He stops him, and
From what I saw in the video, he got out of the car.
right. So he got out of the car of his own. He's talking to another officer, but then the main cop, he was like, "Hey, get back in the car! Like, don't do this. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do." Yeah, like he's like, "Hey, don't do this." Then things escalate. And he's like, well, but before it escalates, he's like, hey, do you speak English? He's like, yes, I do. So, they continue to talk. Eventually, things ratchet up, though, to the point where the officer pulls up his taser, tries to shoot him.
Multiple times.
Yeah, because the first time I think it misses or something. And then that's when Lyoya kind of goes for the taser to either push away.
Or push, yeah.
And so that's when, like, shit kind of pops off. Because then he gets away and he tries to run.
He gets him on the ground, basically.
Then he gets tackled to the ground in, like, front of, like, someone's lawn of some sort.
Yeah, he's on his back. Like,
And so this is where they say the body cam cuts off on the main officer's body cam.
There's, like, 20 seconds of struggle before that happens. And
they're saying because he was pressed up against him, it's possible that turned it off. Because it's, like, a button, I guess, on the thing that you hold it. It turns off. That's what they're saying. Yeah, that's a very convenient way to make some manufacturing there. They get like fucking tanks and shit. They can't design a good thing of fucking cameras. They can't make a good GoPro. And that's another episode. So he says taser, and I believe he is indicating that Lyoya is going again for the taser to, I guess, shoot him, even though, once again, there's been multiple times he's deployed this taser, and it didn't work.
From what I've seen and read as well, like you said, when he's on top of him,
yeah,
before the camera goes out, I think he still has his taser in his hand. I think he's still trying to tase him, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But at this point now, at some point, I believe the tussle happens where Lyoya gets, like, flipped or something.
Sure.
And then the officer has his gun, and I don't hear from what I saw in the video, he doesn't indicate or say, hey, I have my gun now and I'm shooting.
Sure.
You just hear the shot, boom, and it's over. So...
And at what point does the body cam footage cut out?
It cuts out in the tussle and then comes back on after the shot. Okay. So, like, after he gets back up, I believe he's turning it back on, and then we're on the scene again. Okay. At least with that one. But there is other body camera of, like, from, like, almost like across the street, and you see the altercation.
Sure. Okay.
So... Okay. It's an intense situation. The officer has been placed on paid leave.
Of course.
They did not release his name, though I do have friends in Michigan who have figured that out. Once again, power of the fucking internet.
I can't imagine it's hard. I mean, you get a real clear view of his face, so.
And you just do the math, or you can see a badge number, what have you.
Google image search is very easy to do.
Yeah.
Drag and drop.
So I think it's one of those things where they held off on anything, like any statements, until after they released the footage, which was like a day or so later. And there has been a lot of, like, protest activity and stuff like that in Michigan. A lot of people coming out, families come out. I believe a lawyer who was involved in the George Floyd case is now going to be representing, like, as part of the team.
Family, sure.
Yeah. So I mean,
I did not know that he was, like, a recent immigrant or recently from outside of the country, because honestly, my first interaction with anything having to do with this, I hadn't read anything or anything like that.
Yeah.
I thought, is this guy maybe drunk, or is he on something? Does he not speak English? Because, from what the video, I didn't, so that makes more sense.
Yeah, and actually, I did get it wrong. They came in 2014.
Okay.
So, and they also are going to do a tox report that hasn't come out yet in terms of, like, if he was on anything, stuff like that.
Not that justifies anything.
Right.
But from my very first impression from my very first video is I don't think he either speaks English well or at all. And
that's something that has come up too as a defense, where it's like there's a chance that this guy didn't exactly know, and he was just saying, "Oh yeah, no, I understand. Sure. Okay, cool," and, like, didn't understand what was happening.
Sure.
Or that's why the situation comes where he hops out of the car, where, like, the average person knows you are instantly upping the situation with the cop, because they do not take kindly to you just hopping out the car.
And my only other thought from initially watching that video, and like I said, I'm not going to speak on this much because I haven't done near enough research, or what I mean, that needs to be done. But when he's on top of this man for what seemed like dozens of seconds, you know what I mean, and you're obviously smaller than Patrick.
Yeah.
You're not getting him on the ground. You're not going to get your hands behind his back. Get up and get some distance. Right? Get up, back away, get some distance. Like, analyze the situation.
Reassess, yeah.
Going on. Like, don't continue
escalating.
Yeah.
And
like,
the thing is, it's so
moment,
frustrating because they have a training.
Sure.
And I feel like there's almost like this branch of training where it's like they know that, like, yeah, we have the A to B, but they're so quick to escalate it into these, like, scenarios where you were actually using force.
Sure.
Like, I've heard a lot of other people talk where the situation is like, you know what the cop could have done? Let him go. If he's gonna run, let him run.
Yep.
Now there's just more shit. And yeah, it sucks. You have to do more work and paperwork, and more time is gonna have to be put into finding this guy. But you will find him. Easy peasy. But, like,
the footage is clear as day on these cameras. Like, that's why we have them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's
crazy. It gives us the opportunity. It's the same kind of thing with the Kim Potter thing. Like, yeah, it sucks. You made a mistake, and saying taser, pulling out a gun, shooting a man.
I've held a taser and I've held a loaded gun.
They feel different.
They feel
mighty different.
Significantly different. That's
one
rough.
feels like a toy. One feels like a firearm. It's
very,
weird.
very sad situation, and I don't. You know, I don't know.
But another thing that diffuses it is you just let the guy go, and he's once again added more to his thing, and you will find him.
Sure.
It's like, I understand. Well, he's gonna speed off, and maybe that makes an accident. Yeah, maybe it does. But you know what does do something? When you accidentally pull out a wrong weapon when you should have been calm and should have reassessed the situation, and you pull the trigger.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And in that situation, and this situation here, I feel like it's a clear case for that. Now, do I think anything's gonna fucking happen? No. I think my speculation is this is all going to play out like a cop was just doing his job, and in the line of duty, somebody died. And conveniently, it wasn't a cop, so therefore we're not going to feel bad about it.
What it seems like is, at least what I've noticed with all of these things, is if the person that died isn't just fucking laying on the ground, losing their breath and dying, the cop doesn't get arrested or doesn't get charged. Every other one where there's been even like the slightest bit of, you know, quote unquote resistance, they don't get charged. It's not going to happen, and it's unfortunate. Yeah.
So we wanted to cover that. I'll definitely keep you posted on more that comes down my pipeline. Moving to New York. Some shit popped off. More NBC news. How the manhunt for Frank James, the NYC subway shooting suspect, unfolded. Let's see, they got a quote from police commissioner here. We were able to shrink his world quickly. There was nowhere left for him to run. I mean, yeah, that's true. But I mean, essentially, it was a crazy situation. This like popped off around. I know, in Brooklyn on the train.
Subway. Yeah.
Like morning commute to work. I believe it was on the N train going to Manhattan. Man, he's like in a hoodie, in a construction vest kind of situation.
The orange, basically. Yeah.
Puts on a gas mask like he's on like fucking Dark Knight Rises, and throws out like 2 smoke grenades, and then just starts blasting.
20 to 30 rounds, right?
Yeah, just popping off in this subway car. People are hopping out. People are wounded. I believe up to 10 people were wounded. Luckily, no one was murdered. There were no deaths, so that was good. But
as of today, I mean,
yeah,
I'm not sure,
I think some people might be in critical condition or whatever. But so I mean, bunch of chaos. Apparently, in said chaos, the shooter, who's we know now is Frank James, 62 years old, by the way. That guy was moving, especially big man. I'm not trying to be ableist here, but like from some of his older photos, he was heavier set. So like, I mean, he was looking like some Fat Albert action, and he trimmed down like. They were saying he was like 180 pounds. That was what they suggested his height or his weight might be. Because I think he had a surgical mask on before he even put on the mask. So it's kind of hard to identify him exactly. But essentially, he hops from that train to another train, which is stopped. And in the moment, they were hailing the guy, the train operator who did it. But like, and obviously because there's like a shooter sits popping off. They're like, go, just go. And he's like, all right, good. So he makes the decision. He takes the train off. Suspects in that train, and then proceeds to leave, yada, yada, yada. But now it turns out he leaves, I believe, the firearm, the pistol. He drops it, one of them or whatever, and then his credit card. So they immediately link the credit card to a U-Haul. They track down the U-Haul, which has more shit
right.
That he was going to use for potential shootings or whatever. And then they're like linking this guy up. They find his YouTube. He more or less is like posting these like manifestos, more or less. Right. And he's telling his story. And like, it is sad to kind of hear some of his stuff. He's like saying, hey, I have PTSD. I'm going through a lot. He puts a lot on Mayor Adams. Just talking a lot of shit. He's really airing it out. And, you know, he's saying like this New York's made me this way. Or yada, 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 made me this way. So he's going off. Apparently he's like a mobile guy. He like has a home, I think, in Philly or some shit. Does work, I think, in New York, something like that.
And I learned, I don't know if you talked about this on past episodes or not, but he, between 10 and 15 years ago, lived in Columbus.
Okay, yeah, because that's the gun.
Bought the gun in Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Like, wasn't it like a pawn shop or something like that?
Pawn shop. Yeah, legally bought it at a pawn shop.
So I was like, okay, so it's a weird little jigsaw here of like how the gun, how he did the thing, the U-Haul. But some more or less, they're like, okay, so we got the guy. We know who the guy is. They made him a person of interest, like, by the next day. His picture's up everywhere. He sees it. He knows it. He goes to, like, McDonald's. He realizes his phone is dying, so he gets into, like, a payphone kind of thing. Calls, I believe, on himself, like a Crime Stopper tip.
I think he turned himself in.
More or less, he's like, hey, you know, yada, yada, it's me. Like, I'm at this McDonald's, my phone's dying. He explains the whole situation. They come to pick him up. Meanwhile, people are seeing him. They're like, oh shit, this is the guy. So they're calling in Crime Stoppers too. And it all is kind of culminating. They get to the McDonald's. He's not there, but they track him down. And they're like, okay, we found him. We got the guy. They arrest him.
Right.
Done data. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where we're at with it. I believe they are going to charge him with terrorist crimes.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I've read that as well.
That'll be an interesting trial. We will see how that goes. Also, I heard they split the tip. Initially, they weren't. Like, it didn't say who was going to get it or not, if anyone was, because he kind of made the call.
Yeah.
But they are going to split it, like, 5 ways. So I'm like, all right. Okay. They could just give everybody the same amount of money, in my opinion, but, like, fuck it, whatever. Cool. Just can't be choosers. Right. Money is money, right? So, yeah, I was like, normally I don't love covering shootings, and there was, like, some other ones this week that I didn't cover. But like I said, the intro for this shit was like, what? Like, he did what? With smoke grenades? Like,
right. No, it was
wild.
Crazy.
I actually do want to find out how he got those grenades, but interesting shit. Moving back to some international stuff. I wanted to talk about the lockdown in Shanghai. It's kind of been going on. I think they're on their 3rd week of lockdown.
Wow, yeah, the zero COVID policy, right?
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's an interesting pro-con thing. I got this from Reuters. Shanghai targets lockdown turning point by Wednesday. Essentially, this isn't their first lockdown. As you mentioned, they have like a zero COVID policy.
Sure.
That was definitely tested with the Olympics, I feel like. That's when I kind of first started hearing like, okay, this zero tolerance thing.
A lot of unhappy athletes.
Yeah. I mean, you had to go through all this hassle, all of this like restrictions, and then people are still getting sick. So it's like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
And then you pan out further, the Shanghai situation happens like weeks after, and it's like, it's not looking too zero, buddy. Like, that's not good for G, bro. Like, but it kind of looked like they were going to maybe be a little bit lax about it, and they're like, nah. We're going to be the opposite of that. We're going to ratchet up. I'm even hearing now of people, and this isn't in the article, but people's homes, like apartment complexes, just being commandeered by the government. And it's like, this is a COVID area now.
You are not leaving.
Yeah, or either you're not leaving, or we're kicking you out, and we're making this a new center for COVID patients.
Wow.
And it's like, you're evicting me from my fucking home, bro? Like, I just got out of this COVID lockdown for myself, and now I can't get back to my home because I'm being kicked out. And they're like, yeah, get your shit and go. Like,
wow.
So, I mean, shit like that is wild. And if you ask me in 2020, what's the way to do it? It's this way. It's zero COVID. You say, we all stay home. We get our shit from the government, our food from the government, and we live through this shit. But now kind of seeing it actually play out this way is like, damn, that does suck.
It's nice on paper.
It's nice on paper, but in action, it's kind of icky. Yeah. It's kind of hardcore.
Well, there's also, you know, I guess the Chinese way of going about it, and what would the American way of going about it.
Exactly. I do think we would have eased up sooner and let people out and then revisited it. I think we would have done it one and done, no matter what. Like, we would have done like 3 months of that shit, come out crazy, and then we never would have done it again. And plus, they kind of can't keep this up because of the economy.
It's not sustainable.
It's literally pushing their shit to the brink, trying to maintain all this shit. Keep hitting the mic, sorry. But like, not to mention there's business involved. Like Tesla's like, bruh, this factory is gonna open soon. Right. On God. Elon needs his money, okay? Yeah. Like, so I mean, the shit's an issue. So we'll see what they do. I mean, I've kind of been, like I said, just keeping it up with it week to week, but I haven't talked about it. But now it's on the main line, so we'll see.
Crazy, yeah. What people are doing.
Yeah, dude. What will you think of next? I'm curious. Find out next time. Let's take a little smoke break before we finish it off here. Gonna talk about my favorite tech guru CEO man, Elon Musk. Now let me ask you, Tim, are you a fan?
I'm not a hater.
You're not a hater like
I'm not a hater.
I get it.
But I'm not necessarily a fan. I mean...
You're not a stan, yeah.
No, I'm not a stan. I'm not a fan.
I get it.
But I'm not a hater.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think... I don't know. It's like, would him owning 100% of Twitter be better than what's happening now? I mean, I don't know. I don't have a Twitter, and I'm going to be honest.
Smart man.
I've never had a Twitter.
Saving yourself the brain rot.
Never had a Twitter.
Smart move. What an alpha, dude. What a Sigma grind set move. Like, who needs it? I don't need it. I'm making my money without this. Boom, boom, boom. So I got this from The Verge. Elon Musk won't join Twitter's board after all. I believe this is for the best, CEO says. That's Parag Agrawal. So essentially, where I left you guys off, he was going on the board. He was about to be on. And then next thing you know, he sends him a message like, I don't want to do this anymore, psych. And then puts up a little message, a little hand and face emoji, like, hee hee hee. Like he's fucking hacker man.
We're in hostile takeover territory.
Yeah, and that's immediately what it is, because now he has said, hey, part of the reason, I mean, because it was kind of revealed, like with the deal, you were going to get capped. You couldn't get more than, I think, like 14% in your shares.
And now he's not even the majority owner anymore.
Yeah, so he's...
Vanguard Group is.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those situations where he's like, okay, fuck this. Like, no, I just want Twitter then. Mm-hmm. Like, so now he's trying to put up, I think, like 0.3 billion dollars. I know the numbers here, so I'm high now.
It's dozens of billions.
It's a lot of money. And essentially, I think it's like $50 a share.
It's up to 50 to 55.
So he's like trying to pitch that as like, that's what I'll do if you guys don't want this. Like, I'll take it. I'll buy them out. Essentially,
shareholders can vote, can't they? I mean, I know there's backdoor things they've talked about. I've definitely not done the research, but just little things here and there. But he still has ways, I guess, to.
He has ways of influencing it. He gets enough people, he can start snowballing shit where it's like, look, I will make this happen. It's just like, it's not going to be pretty, or it could just be fucking easy.
Right.
But it does.
You could get paid and still, maybe even work here, but.
It does sound like, though, they're not interested in
No,
that.
They're definitely.
It doesn't seem like the shareholders are either. They saw the numbers drop after he started whiling. And this is the thing, too. He was like saying crazy shit. He was like, you know what? They should turn Twitter into, like, a shelter, a homeless shelter. Because, like, no one's there anymore. And it's like, what? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, he's like, well, what I'm saying is, like, most people work from home, right? Like, there's just no reason to have, like, physical space like this. It's wasted. And then he goes on to add, remember all the top people on the site? Like, they don't even show up anymore. They don't even tweet. And he's like, why are you talking this way? You are a part of this. Like, you're a shareholder. You're talking so much shit. Like, and it's just,
just have all the employees work from home and turn headquarters into a homeless shelter?
But that's not what he's going to do, though. Yeah. He's just talking that good shit because it sounds good.
That sounds amazing. If it happens.
Big if true. Big if true. So it's just one of those things where I'm glad that there are at least some people who are like, this is annoying, stop, like, I'm not interested, no thanks. Like, people are kind of turning him down a bit. We'll see, though, if that stops him or slows him down or not. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm a bad guest when it comes to Twitter because I just don't give a shit.
No, that's fair, dude.
Twitter's just, it's a haven for miscreants and...
And people think that they're, like, getting something special out of it. Like,